Good morning. Today is 23 April, the year 2017. I'm Dr. Dave Thompson, a volunteer at the Palm Springs Air Museum here in Palm Springs, California. As part of the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., we conduct interviews of veterans and civilians who participated in our country's military conflicts, especially World War II. Today, I'm here at the museum along with fellow volunteer Jim Seltzer and special guest Dick Rentfrow. And today we have the honor and the privilege of hearing the story of Tabea Rentfrow. Mrs. Rentfrow was a little girl in Poland during World War II. So we're going to talk to her about that and a lot of other things. Tabea, so good to have you here, dear.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Okay, Tabea, if you would please pronounce and spell your full name, and I know you mentioned you've got a couple of maiden names, so why don't you just give us the whole enchilada, as they say.
My maiden name was Tabea Wienert, but I also have a birth certificate that says that I was Tabea Winiarski because the region where I was born sometimes belonged to Poland and sometimes to Germany. And so it was politically better for me to be Tabea Winiarski when the region was Polish, and better to be Tabea Wienert when it was Germany.
So is that because your family would get treated better, or was it just easier for people to pronounce your name, or
well, sometimes people were taken to concentration camps and you could not speak German or Polish, So my mother knew both languages, Polish and German. And she also told me that if I ever was questioned, she taught me a few very important words like mama, mamusha proszę chleba, which means mother, I would like some bread, or mamusha proszę kubkę, if I had to go to the bathroom. Just little things like that.
Yeah, okay. And your present name now is?
Tabea Rentfrow.
And how do you spell Rentfrow?
Rentfrow.
Okay. And when were you born?
I was born March 7th, 1940.
1940. And where were you born?
I was born in Litzmannstadt, Wallensteinstraße 24, Erzhausen. And right now that city is Lodz.
And right
Poland.
now in Poland. Okay. So what part of Poland was that in? I mean,
it was right on the border.
Of Germany and Poland?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
and sometimes the region belonged to Poland and sometimes to Germany.
The people that lived there, did they like Germany, the Germans?
Well, my father was taken into the armed forces by Hitler, and usually that was not done because he was a pastor and a minister of the gospel, and if he had had 4 children, he would not have been taken in, but he only had 3. And so he was taken into the armed forces, and my mother was left at home raising the children. But I remember him coming back home at least once.
Do you have a photo of him in his uniform?
Yes, I do.
Oh, well, you probably don't have it here, but maybe you could email it to Jim or.
It's actually on that one photo that I gave you.
Okay, the photo of him in uniform on that?
Yeah, of the family.
Is he in uniform? Yes.
Oh, in the family. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, well, that's great. That's good. So So what did they have him do in the German army?
Oh, he was a soldier
Okay. And
on the
what,
front lines. And we didn't have any communication with him for many, many, many years. It wasn't until I was already married with my husband that I knew he had fallen in France.
he was killed?
He was killed,
Oh.
missing in action
Oh, gosh.
for many,
I'm
many
sorry.
years.
Yeah.
We just waited for him to come home, but we never found him.
So, yeah. Do you know what unit he was in?
No,
in the
I
army or
don't.
anything like that? Okay. So, but he was a pastor. So, and you mentioned that you were Baptist, which was kind of unusual, being that it's either Lutheran or Catholic or Jewish, I suppose.
Right.
And so, how did that come about? Was he always Baptist? Was his family Baptist too, or what?
Yes.
Okay. And so, his ancestors, I mean, did they always live in that same area in Poland?
I think there were some. My grandfather was Polish, and some of my family came from the Black Forest region.
And what was your father's name?
Arthur.
Okay. And was his father a minister as well?
No.
Do you know what he did? Your grandfather?
My grandfather, on my mother's side, was an enterprising man. He actually had a couple food stores and
Grocery stores, like.
grocery stores.
And your mom, what was her name and her maiden name?
My mother's name was Hedwig, and her maiden name was Rode.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Rode.
Okay. And did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and one sister,
What are their names?
and my brother's name was Armin, Armin, and my sister's name Ruth.
Is she still alive, your sister?
My sister is still alive, my brother is dead.
And where does Ruth live?
Ruth lives right now she lives near Santa Cruz in California.
Okay. And your mother's father, is he the one that had the grocery stores? Oh, okay, yeah. And what about your father's father? Do you know what he did?
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, as we know, you were so small, so did you ever, well, I saw that you got a picture of you and your dad. Do you remember talking to your dad, or what he was like or anything like that?
He came home one day, and I actually have some letters from him that my sister kept, and one day, but for me, my memory, I remember him coming home, and across his neck he carried a tricycle for me, and he brought it home, and he wanted me to learn how to ride a two-wheeler. So at first I had the tricycle, and then they took off the training wheels. But he was only there a short time. I don't have too much memory of him except him standing on the steps and just loving, enjoying.
You mentioned that one of the first things you remember is looking out your bedroom window and saw the troops going by. Were those German troops that you saw going by?
Yes.
The people that lived in that area, did they mind that the Germans were invading Poland, or did they look at it as maybe we should be part of Germany, or what was their thoughts?
The people that were German, actually liked Hitler. They did like him. He was, a lot of the young people the teenagers belonged to the Hitler Youth, and they were actually...
Even in Poland, before the war started, there was a Hitler Youth program in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think my sister belonged to it, even.
Yeah. I guess it was similar to the YMCA, or it was just kind of an organization for, because I interviewed one fellow who happened to be Jewish, and he was in it, so I mean, it was...
They
so
just
then-
were brainwashed,
Right.
They learned catchy little tunes and songs, and
And your mom, what did your mom do while your dad was away?
she was just a housemaker and taking care of us.
Did he send money back? I guess he got paid for being...
I don't remember
how
any
how
about that.
went, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Did your parents talk about the Depression, which we know was much worse in Germany, and I suppose in Poland perhaps too? That it was here. It was bad enough here, but it was awfully bad over there. Did they? I mean, I guess they must have gotten by okay.
Well, we were when we left Poland, we were refugees in Germany,
Right.
and we had nothing to eat, absolutely nothing. When I grew up, I actually, remember rummaging through trash cans and just eating. I learned which kind of leaves to eat along the side road. And we would maybe sometimes see some grain, and we would, go like this with the grain, blow the chaff away, and then eat that. That would be our food. Okay,
so
we were very hungry.
I think you said you were 4 when you had to leave, and that was the Russians were coming in. Was that primarily why?
Yes, the Russians were coming in, and if we did not leave, there was a chance that we would be taken to concentration camps in Russia.
Yes.
And so we left. There was a knock on the door. My mother put one dress on another, on me, and a little coat. It was bitter winter, I remember. There was lots of snow on the ground. And the last thing, she opened a jar of cherries that she had canned, and she wanted to eat some of the cherries, not leave them behind. So we ate some cherries, and then we actually walked out in the snow. My brother, my sister, my mother, and I. And at that time, and we just were heading west. And the soldiers, the German soldiers, also were running away from the Russians. And whenever they had room on their trucks, they would pick up some of the people who were fleeing. And so one truck came, I remember, and he had room for 2 people. So my mother made the decision to put my sister and myself on that truck. And she said, we will continue walking until we find another one that has room for us. And the point where everybody was supposed to meet was Dresden. And we went, and our soldiers, the soldier trucks that had my sister and myself, took us to the train station in Dresden. There were lots of people at the train station in Dresden.
Was this before or after the bombing of Dresden?
Before, just that same day.
Kidding.
My mother never arrived because when they had a flat tire in their truck, and so they just bypassed Dresden because the city was already in flame. My sister and I were at the train station, and there were so many people there. just a wall of people. And the last train that was going west came. The people were pushing. There was no room in the train. And people were hanging on to the outside. And there was no way we could have gotten on that train. And somebody, a man, came from the back, took my sister by the hand, and she held me by the hand and my muff, and he led us across the railroad tracks. He opened the back of a car and shoved us in on top of all the people and shut the door, and the train left. That was the last train that left Dresden. And then the rest of the people were told to go underneath for cover, and the whole city was destroyed. Mm-hmm. But we were on that train, and so I remember that my sister said, she said Glauchau, and that is in the eastern zone, the Russian zone of Germany. We had arrived there. And she said, I remember that we have some friends, Christian brothers and sisters here. And so she said, let's get out here and we'll try and find them.
How old was your sister?
She's 14. I was 4.
You were 10 years
and
older
she
than
was
you. Oh, I
14.
see. Yeah.
So she remembered those from my father's friends. And so we got off and we found them, and they took us in, and we stayed with them and then tried to reunite with my mother. We didn't know. We were without her probably several months. It was very difficult for her, and it was very difficult for us because we didn't know where our mother was.
Where was she? Where did she?
She landed in Berlin. So that was the Western zone. We were in the East, the Russian zone, because Germany was cut in 4 pieces.
Now this was after the war in Europe was over, basically?
No, it was still going on because I remember that even Glauchau, where we were, there were air raids and the bombs would fall. We would have to run out, and we would just find an empty lot or something and just lay down on the ground, because we were going to trying to get away from the buildings. Mm-hmm. Because they were the ones that were bombed, and if we were lying on the ground flat, they wouldn't spot us.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find your mother, or your mother find you?
Through the Red Cross. Mm-hmm. She initiated with the Red Cross, and
was that like the German Red Cross or the international? Or?
You know what? I don't know. Okay. But I know it was the Red Cross, and so we contribute all the time to that.
Sure.
But okay, then we were very hungry in the Russian zone. My mother, when she found us, came to meet us there, and then she worked for the Russians actually in the barracks. My sister said she washed clothes for the Russian soldiers. She washed their uniforms and stuff. But and my aunt, I had a very enterprising aunt, my father's sister, Aunt Martha. She heard how bad it was in the Russian zone, how hungry we were, and she was living in Hamburg. I think that probably was, it was the Western. And she said, you don't have to be hungry like that. And so she came to visit us. She was a very enterprising lady. She just thought she was God's gift to men, and she armed herself with cigarettes and her charm, and she came through the Russian border. She came us and she smuggled us across. And so we landed from there. She went back to Hamburg, and my mother and sister and my brother and I went to a little community close to Hanover in Germany, sort of the middle.
How old were you then?
Oh, I was, I would say 6.
When you were in that Russian zone, how did the Russian soldiers treat you?
Well, I never got to meet any. But I remember the bullets flying. I remember being outside sometimes, and the bullets flying past close to where we were. I could hear them, and we would just lie on the ground.
And that's where you. So where would you get your food when you were in the Russian zone?
My mother worked for the Russian soldiers, and she wouldn't get any payment, but she would get a little bit of the soup, cabbage soup that they made, and she brought that home, and we divided it. Mm-hmm.
So then you get to the western side. How long did you? And what did your mom get a job over there then, near Hanover?
Actually, I think she got a little bit of money from the German government. Not much, but some.
And did you go to school there then?
Yes, I went to school. And when I was 15, the opportunity presented itself to come to the United States. My sister had married an American minister also, an evangelist, and it brought her to Ventura, California. And then she wanted to be with us, so the church sponsored us to come to the United States.
You and your brother and your mom?
Not my brother. My brother had gotten married.
Oh.
He became a watchmaker in Germany, and his wife was too German. She didn't want to leave, but we didn't have anything to lose, so we decided to take the opportunity and come. I was 15 at that time, and I came to Ventura, and because we were pretty spiritual people, the first Sunday I decided to go to church. Just down the street, 1 block, there was a 4-square church, and my husband was at the altar playing the clarinet.
Oh, yeah. Let's get that clarinetist up here now. For this pretty girl. There you go.
Well,
So, did you grow up in that area?
Yeah, I was born in
Ventura.
Pardon me, I was born in Ventura.
Okay. And what were you working or going to school at that time, or what?
Going to school, yes. And
Where were you going?
Ventura Junior College at that time.
And your dad, what did he do? What
He was working in the oil fields.
Oh, okay.
And he actually came from Missouri. He immigrated from Missouri to go to the oil rush, essentially. And he started our family.
So you're going to school and you're playing the clarinet, and then you go ahead.
we fell in love right away, and 1 year later, I was only 16, we got married.
Now, did you speak English well?
No, but we didn't need to. So
The international language, huh? Yeah, okay.
She knew how to say yes.
yes, I knew how to say yes.
Yeah.
Luckily, she did not know how to say no.
Now, by the way, did you speak both Polish and German?
not much Polish, but I certainly German. Yes, that was my first language.
And then where'd you go to school when you were over here?
When I came to the United States, I went to Ventura Senior High. I came to this country legally. It took a long time for the paperwork to be,
Sure.
finished and everything. Many years, actually.
Was it difficult that you didn't? Did you understand? Did you understand English?
Well, when I came to the United States, I had to go to school. I had signed papers that I would finish high school here. And so I had to at least go through high school. And they put me into the first grade. Was it at 9th or 10th? 10th grade. 10th, 11th, and 12th. So 10th grade. And I didn't know how to speak English, but I had one girl that befriended me, and she sort of helped me along, But it took, when you're in a country and you are immersed in another language, it takes about 6 months to become pretty fluent to where you understand. When Dick and I got married, like if I didn't know, for instance, a word of an animal or something, I would say, well, it's sort of, it looks like a dog, but it has long ears. He said, oh, a rabbit, so it would be kind of like that.
Jim, I meant to say, Jim, why don't you feel free to chime in if you have something you'd like to ask him about, too.
No, I think you've pretty well covered it.
Well,
I think one thing you told me one time is how the German people treated you when you were a refugee. How you felt when you got back to Germany and you were refugees.
Oh, I am telling you, we were second-class citizens in Germany. That's one reason when the opportunity came to come to the United States, we took it right away because we were just dirt. And I understand it because we didn't have anything, and the Germans had to share their homes and share what they had, and they did that, but they were made to do it by the government because they had to be nice to us because we were refugees. So we lived in just one room, and there was my mother, my sister, my brother, all in the same room, and that's where we lived and slept and
it was
cooked
somebody's
and-
house? Somebody
They
you
just-
knew, or
No,
they just put
the
you
German government
just put you
said you must take them in, and we were not very much liked.
Did you know any Americans over there in Germany? Meet any or any
no.
American soldiers or anything?
Oh yes, once in a while they would come, and the children would love the American soldiers to come because they would disperse Hershey's candy bars. I remember that. We loved the American soldiers. Mm-hmm.
So then so you finished high school, and then you got married right after high school, basically?
I got married. I got married before I finished high
Before you
school
finished high school.
because I came when I was 15. We got married 16, but I wanted to do my duty, and so I finished high school while I was married, which was also very rare at that time. And so the young kids would say, "Oh, can I see your wedding ring?" And they wanted to see it because nobody got married that young.
So did you have an apartment or
Yes,
what?
we had an apartment.
In Ventura.
Mm-hmm. And Dick was flipping hamburgers.
Where was that?
In Ventura.
I mean, what restaurant?
Oh, it was just a little hamburger shack. It was called the Palm.
The Palm. Okay.
Those were quite popular at that time.
Yeah.
And I essentially just took I graduated from the junior college and took essentially a year and a half or 2 year break while she
Finished
Yeah,
high
they should-
school.
Oh,
and
okay.
I had odd jobs, and then I
Then we,
then,
yeah.
then we went to I went to UCLA.
yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
And
moved then
finished.
to another apartment in Santa Monica. And Dick was attending UCLA and I worked as a teller in a bank. At that time, I already spoke fluent English.
What bank did you work at?
It was called Pioneer Savings and Loan
And that was where was it?
in Santa Monica.
Santa.
hmm
And so what was your major, Dick?
Mathematics.
hmm And so did you graduate from UCLA then?
Yes.
So what year did you graduate?
What year was
You
it?
tell who's got a better memory. Tabea doesn't, she knows everything.
No, I don't know
Dick's
anything.
more like me.
What year did you graduate? Tabea?
I don't remember.
It was sort of strange, but I think was
Let's
it
see.
62 or 64?
Yeah,
don't know. 60
I
or
think,
64.
well, I graduated in 1958 from
High
the
school.
high school.
62, I believe.
So then 4 years later, right?
And 2 years later, but
Two years later.
it was because of the break and everything. I was one subject short on graduation time, and so I actually had to fulfill that one subject, and I did that. Went back to the Rentfrow Junior College to do that while I was working, and it was actually strung out a little longer than the 2 years. It should-
So what kind of job did you have while you were going to college?
Well, actually, I'm a veteran, so I went under the GI Bill, so I didn't actually work except in the summer times.
So what did you do after graduation then?
I became one of the first into computers.
Okay.
So I became very involved with computers at a very, very early stage, and
They're a little larger than they are now, right?
a lot. But and they were more challenging at that time too. But I worked I graduated from UCLA, but I worked for SC. They had a research center at Point Magoo,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a wind tunnel there.
Right.
And most of the data processing when I first went there was all done by hand with Friedens, and along with somebody made them say they're actually making computers now that can do all these things, and they had the first computer that they got was called a 650. It was vacuum tube type of a computer, and I was extremely interested in it, and I got involved with that, and I became a programmer. And my language expertise were computer languages rather than human languages. I was very confident that I could speak any computer language that they could develop.
You're pretty rare then. So while he's doing this, so what are you doing? Raising kids or?
No,
Trying.
I was a teller I was in the banking industry. There was
For quite a long time?
yeah, that was my job until Dick started his own company.
Oh, okay. And so your children?
I only have
the
one
Yeah,
son.
one son. Yeah.
One son,
When
David.
when was he born, or how old is he?
He was born in 1963, and so I was 23 years old at that time.
And where does he live now?
He lives in Texas.
And what does he do?
Right now, he's in the pool cleaning business
Mhm.
and repairing.
Yeah. Does he live close to you guys?
Yes,
Oh, okay. And do you have any grandchildren?
I have one wonderful grandson
Mhm.
and a great grandson.
Okay. Jim, go pull a chair up there. I want to talk to you guys for
Okay.
just a little bit
Need to
while
take the
while
right
we're
up.
at it. While we're at it. Back off here a little bit. So yeah, get right up
Supposed to
there.
be Tabea's
Right up.
I think so, I think so.
So,
Yes, sir.
Jim, tell me how you said that you worked for, or he was your boss, so how did that all come about?
I was working for another company that was doing similar work as they were, and actually we were competitors for some of the work. But a new contract was coming out, and I approached their chief operating officer and said, it would be better if we combined our resources and went after this contract together and see if we could win this, and then we could share the work between the two companies. And so they agreed, and we went after the contract, and we won it. And after we'd had the contract for about a year, Dick approached the company I was working for and said, Jim's playing an important role in this, and we think it'd be better if you would allow him to come over to our company and do this because they were the prime contractor. So after I've been working on it for about a year, I joined Rentfrow, running the same contract that it helped him win. And Tabea was playing a very important part in the company then too. She, we talked about she raised children, but when I knew her, she was in the office almost every day and take care of the books and the accounting and sort of running everything. So, so Tabea played an important part in the company
I
too.
guess so. So how many people were in your company? How many employees?
At
Sometimes
that
we
time,
had 80.
I was going
Really?
to say that contract grew, and
yes,
we had some.
And where was it? This is in Southern California?
yes,
In where?
in Ventura.
In Ventura. Okay.
for
Yeah.
the Navy on Port Wwii. We were supporting the
Oh.
We
Yeah.
had 80 employees at one time and many
subcontractors.
subcontractors.
We had over 160, 180 people working on the contract. all around
And
the
basically contracting to do what?
world. Software, computers. That falls right into what Dick was saying. We did for all the Navy shore facilities, we were running all of their software that supported what they were doing, the back office kinds of things. So personnel, finance, accounting, that type of thing.
But I want to tell something. Dick is not very proud of his contribution, but he did something very wonderful. Before the stock exchange was going, he worked for a company that linked
Yeah, San Francisco and LA. I was involved with the first communications between the stock exchange between. I actually developed the communication between the two stock exchanges. I was the primary programmer involved in Bank Americard's first
Oh, yeah.
before bank
processing
cards
system.
came out.
Oh, okay.
But even more, to me, more important than that, before that, I was actually a scientific programmer, and I was involved with Navier-Stokes equations, and I was part of a team of 4 that actually did the first digitation of those, digitizing of the Navier-Stokes equations of motion. So I did some of the very.
He's going to look at his
Can
face
you,
like I have no idea.
Jim, can you
No.
can you interpret for me, please, Jim? Can you speak it in
I
my
was-
language?
I think I probably extremely primitive, but I think I was probably one of the first people that ever plotted the motion of air around wings and
I
stuff,
see.
this type of thing.
Yeah.
And I was that was sort of my passion. I mean, I was that was a great interest to me anyway to develop, get the computers to show us what happens and as a missile is going through the air,
Oh, okay.
and being able to predict and those kinds of things. And then after that, I got involved with the business side, and that was interesting.
How long did you still have your business?
No, it's they chose not to use us anymore, I guess. So no, I wish they were still going, but
So when did you? How did you end up in Texas then?
Uh, This is,
Let's see, why did we come to Texas? I think it made monetary sense.
Oh, okay. Did you move there when you were still working, or after you
yes,
retired?
but I don't,
We
it
have,
is political and a lot. My beliefs are extremely conservative. And
Okay.
I become very, very uncomfortable
I understand.
in
I have
California.
friends that have.
I'd rather not.
I got you. I feel the same way.
I'd like to be in
If
this
the
part of
weather wasn't so nice, I'd join you probably. So I understand. Yeah. Okay.
It's a more friendlier atmosphere for me.
Yeah. Okay. So how long have you been living in Texas then?
5 years.
5 or 8, maybe.
Okay. But you have a place here too?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you had? Where is your place here?
In Grapevine.
No, here.
No.
Oh,
No,
here?
here.
Sun
Yeah.
City.
So
Oh,
Oh,
Sun
in
City. We
Sun
talked about
City.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Out in Sun City. That's nice. Royal Sage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what do you guys do to occupy your time these days?
Oh, we travel. We travel, and my husband loves cars. He always has loved cars. In fact, we fell in love with, he had a MGTC at the time. And,
of marriage, yeah.
huh?
When we met.
When
When we met, yes.
What year was that car?
49.
49 MGT?
Yeah.
What color?
Maroon, white interior,
With white, with
So now you're
white
talking
pins.
language that they
with
can
maroon high
understand.
beam.
Oh, that sounds, yeah. Some, okay.
And
But you saw the clarinet before you saw the car?
well, almost. He said, "Can I take you home?" And
On your, you know,
I said, "Yes."
I saw her in the street walking
Walking home,
last
and
week.
I had high heels on,
Oh.
and I said yes. And so he opened the car for me, and he said, "Don't step on the running board." So I kind of got in, and got my legs across. And then he said, "Okay, where do you live?" And I said, "There." It was just the next block.
So that, that is true. That is true.
So he's always loved cars. So
Yeah.
he's always liked to drive. So now we even drive. We have several cars, but we have one small RV, and we drive it to Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Have you ever been back to Poland?
I never have. I have such bad memories that I've never gone back to Germany, and I've never gone back to Poland. I've visited lots of other countries, but I've never gone back there just because of the memories of my past.
Okay.
But that little house in Poland, I still have it in my mind, the way it looked and everything, with little flowers going along, and the well in the backyard, surrounded by yellow jasmine flowers, and I have that memory, and I know it won't look like that anymore, so I just want to keep it that way.
Okay, I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. Jim, anything further you'd
No, I
like
think
to?
you've covered the highlights. I mean, that's Tabea's story of getting out of Poland just before the Russians, I think, was the reason why I asked you to do this.
Oh, well, that
And what they did
and
and life in Germany was.
and,
I have one
Dresden,
more
I mean, that-
thing.
yes.
You were asking about the hunger in the Russian zone.
yes.
I remember one night we were all sitting together, and it was dinner time. We had nothing to eat, And then a knock on the door, and my mother went and opened the door, and there was a little man. He had an apron, and in his apron was full of potatoes. And he said, "I understand that you are hungry." And so he gave us the potatoes, and my mother boiled them, and we put salt on them, and our tummies were full. But we don't know who that man was. It was another strange incident, like that person that put us on the train. We didn't know him from Adam. We don't know who that was. We weren't even able to say thank you. And this man that came to our door when we were so hungry, we don't know who that was.
Are you still involved with your church, or do you have a church that...
Oh, we're very much, we're not churchy people, but we're very spiritual. We love God, we love the Lord, and to Him be all glory.
Okay, I usually like to ask a person like you if you had any advice, say for a young person or anybody, that really bad things happen to, like happen to you. If you have any advice how to cope with that, how to get through the bad times.
Pray to God. He's there all the time. He'll never leave you or forsake you. He's always there with open arms.
I think that's great. And thank you for sharing with us. Dick, you too. Jim? Okay. All right.
You dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in His shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock, in whom